Hi, my name is Julia and I'm here on behalf of Lung NSPEI to give a presentation about vaping. You may have heard a lot of different things about vaping. Our goal today is to provide you with information to help you make an informed choice. So let's start with some basic facts about vaping. As opposed to smoking, which burns tobacco, vaping devices do not burn, but rather heat the e-juice to make an aerosol. Aerosol is also known as vapor or cloud. The e-juice has chemicals and flavorings, with most containing nicotine, a highly addictive stimulant. There are more than 7,000 flavors of e-juice, ranging from cigarette to candy, fruit, mint, and so on. Why do you think they put so many flavors in vapes? It is mostly to hide the bad taste of the chemicals and nicotine. You may hear different names for vaping products, but they all work in the same way. Some common names you might have come across for these products are the vape pen, box vape, vapes that use pods, or disposable vapes. Vaping has evolved over time to deliver nicotine very quickly to the brain. Vapes that use pods, which only came out a few years ago and has brands like Juul, can have very high nicotine concentration. For example, a pod with 55 milligrams per milliliter of nicotine has the same amount of nicotine as an entire pack of cigarettes. Many youth feel pressured from those around them to use vaping products. Let's hear from some youth about their experiences with vaping products and peer pressure.
I believe I started vaping at my friend's house for the first time. One of her friends had a vape and just kind of went like that.
I started vaping when I was in grade 10, when I was 16 years old. And I started vaping from just being around other people with vapes, and it looked interesting, so I started doing it.
They would offer it to me and I would say no, and then I would feel the need to do it just to be included in that group.
Yeah, I started vaping because of my friends.
I started vaping, you would say, because peer pressure. Most of my friends were vaping and we would hang out and everyone else would be either vaping or smoking a cigarette, and I just decided to start, and I didn't think of the consequences before.
Some research has shown vaping to be less harmful than cigarettes. But does that mean that vaping is harmless? No, research is clearly showing that vaping is not harmless. Let's find out why. Let's start with the vapor. Here are some examples of what the vapor cloud could include. The vapor cloud could include nicotine, as well as volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, that would be in paint products and gasoline. The vapor also contains very tiny particles that can go deep into your lungs, as well as heavy metals such as chromium, nickel, and lead that are released when the vape is heated. Some of the above are known to cause cancer, especially VOCs. With vaping products only being available for 10 years, it is too early to know the long-term harms of vaping now. However, we do have research showing that past and current adolescent e-cigarette users experience more frequent lung problems such as chronic cough, phlegm, or lung inflammation. Other symptoms that people experience with vaping are chest pain, feeling your heartbeat faster and irregularly. Later, it can increase the chances of getting chronic heart and lung diseases, as well as asthma. Now let's talk about nicotine. Nicotine is a chemical found in both tobacco and the majority of e-juice. It is very addictive, with some users needing more and more nicotine to have the same effect. Nicotine also increases heart rate and blood pressure. When someone vapes, not only that person, but the people around and even pets can inhale the same vapor, which can put them in harm. Some people can be highly sensitive to the vapor, especially people with lung conditions such as COPD or asthma. Let's go back to our youth and hear what they have to say about vaping affecting their health.
Before I started vaping, I was very into like sports and things like that. So I would go swimming and I'd do running and I'd like cycle and everything. And I feel like before vaping, my lung capacity was much better, obviously. And then after vaping, I would feel fatigued easier. And then I would get shortness of breath, and maybe like my chest would start expanding a little bit more than usual. And I just felt like tired because of, I guess, vaping and things like that.
I believe it definitely has affected how I breathe and, you know, my lungs and stuff. They're not as good as they used to be. I used to be able to like talk full sentences, and now I have to take more breaths in between because I can't hold as much air in my lungs to keep going.
I find that vaping makes me cough a lot more and it irritates my lungs.
I can't breathe very well. I don't do much exercise anymore, which made me gain a bunch of weight because I can't breathe very well whenever I'm doing stuff because of vaping.
Before I started vaping, I was always involved in a lot of sports and stuff, but then as I started vaping, over time, it just made it a lot harder and harder to be able to go out on the ice or be able to play basketball with my friends, and eventually I was at a point where I couldn't even run for 10 minutes or so on the basketball court. But since quitting, I've noticed that my lungs are definitely a lot better. I don't have as hard of a time breathing when I'm going up and down stairs even. I'm able to take my dogs out on long walks and it not be an issue for me.
At first, it didn't really affect me in a way that I realized, and then the more and more I was vaping more heavily, I started to realize that I couldn't go without it and I would crave it. And then it started to affect my lungs, where I saw that I had less energy and I couldn't breathe very well, and then I needed a puffer.
One of the primary concerns of youth vaping is the exposure to nicotine on the developing brain and how it impacts the developing brain of youth. Did you know that the brain is still developing up till the age of 25? Nicotine can negatively affect memory, concentration, and mood, making it harder to learn, focus, and to be happy. It can also increase anxiety and stress. Youth brains are particularly vulnerable to the addictive effects of nicotine. Using nicotine as a youth causes the brain to change and want nicotine more. This makes it harder to quit. There is evidence that youth who use vaping products are more likely to use tobacco products later in life, such as cigarettes. Let's hear from our youth about their experiences with vape use and mental health.
I find that vaping has affected my mental health in the way that I would be freaking out without it, and it was something so meaningless, yet I felt like I couldn't go without it, and I would freak out if I didn't have my vape. It would also dampen my mood if I couldn't get a vape rip, and if I couldn't afford it, I would be angry, and then it just brought my self-confidence down because I felt like it was an addiction that I wanted to hide, and it really brought my self-confidence down. I found that I thought that vaping could be a method to calm myself and rid me of some of my anxiety, but the only thing it did was make it worse in the long run, because the more I depended on the nicotine, the more I got anxious, and the more I started realizing that, if anything, is just making my anxiety worse. But I was too far gone and too addicted to make a change and change it up and decide, hey, this is really not good for me. And I kept going and kept using it. And once I finally stopped, I found that my mental health got so much better, and I wasn't as anxious, and I wasn't depending on something, and my symptoms of my anxiety were severely brought down, and I was feeling a lot better about myself. And if there's anything, the only thing nicotine does is make your anxiety and depression worse.
So vaping has affected my mental health. When I was still vaping, it was pretty negative. I found that, again, I was unable to ever be able to deal with my anxieties or stresses and face them head on. I would always just turn to the vape as an escape, kind of, I guess.
I'm digging through drawers, trying to find a charger, trying to smoke like empty pods with nothing in them. Then I'm either manic cleaning or trying to occupy myself so that I'm not thinking about the fact that I want to vape. I need to keep busy. I can't just relax. I need to be doing something at all times. I can't just sit down and watch TV. I need to keep busy so that I'm not thinking about the fact that I want to vape right now.
Now we are going to play true or false to test your knowledge of these products. True or false? There has not been enough time to study the long-term effects of vaping products. True. It could be years before the health effects of vaping are fully known. It took decades to learn all the health effects of smoking cigarettes. True or false? Vaping produces a harmful vapor cloud. True. Vaping creates a vapor containing harmful chemicals that is inhaled into the lungs and then exhaled into the environment. True or false? Many vaping products are made by companies that make cigarettes. True. Companies who make cigarettes are now making vaping products. They are using the same tactics to sell vaping products that they did with cigarettes. Juul, one of the top-selling vaping products, is owned by a large tobacco company. A form of advertisement that many of you would be familiar with is social media. At first, when you look at these posts, you may not recognize them as advertisements. However, often vaping product companies will pay social media influencers to promote their products via platforms like Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. Some influencers portray themselves as happy, enjoying life, and subtly showing the products, meaning most of the time viewers are unaware that they're seeing an ad at all. Young consumers are more likely to pay attention to posts that are subtle promotions of the products rather than ads. They are essentially being manipulated. On average, vaping costs approximately $5 per day, or $150 per month, or $1,800 per year. You can just imagine what you could do with that money. It's quite a lot, and it would add up over time. What would you do with $1,800? You could buy 3 iPads, a plane ticket, 2 PS5s, or an iPhone 15. Let's hear from some youth and see what they have to say about the cost of vaping.
Money-wise, are you going to buy gas and groceries when you're out of school, or are you going to be spending them on vape pods and vape juice? That's kind of what it comes down to with me almost. I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta get some pods, but I should probably fill my car. It's just not worth it.
I've spent a lot more money on this than I ever want to spend on anything. Over 4 years, I can easily say I've spent at least $2,000 a year on this.
So when I think back on how much money I've spent on vapes, I am very disappointed in myself. If I think about $50 or so for every week for 3 years almost, I probably could have afforded a car or a down payment on a house if I would have just put that into a bank account and saved it.
I would spend around $20 to $30 every 2 weeks on vaping. When I think of how much money I spent on vaping, it makes me very embarrassed because that's a lot of money that I put towards something that brought me nothing but problems in the future. So I would love to get that money back someday, and I do not recommend starting it.
Not only is vaping costly, but did you know that it is illegal for youth to buy them? In Canada, there are laws around how vaping products are sold. Here in Prince Edward Island, you must be 21 years of age to buy vaping products. PEI has also banned the sale of flavored vaping products, and vaping products are only allowed to be sold at vaping stores and tobacconist shops. Even though vaping is not allowed for persons under 21, it happens more often than you think. As you have just learned, vaping affects your health, causes addiction, and costs a lot of money. Every day, more information is coming out about the effects of vaping. As vaping is newish, the long-term effects are still being discovered. If you remember anything from this presentation, we would like you to remember that vaping is not harmless. It can become an addiction that can cause serious damage to your lungs, your brain, and your future. To finish up this presentation, let's watch our brand new animation video that demonstrates the connection between vaping and mental health.
I have a huge test next period in science. It's the first test of the year and I need to do well. It's been bothering me all week and I'm not sure if I've studied enough.
I know what you mean. I've been stressed all week as well. Soccer tryouts are tomorrow. I really want to make the team, but only a certain number of grade 7s make it. So I gotta do my best.
This has always helped me when I'm stressed. It gives me a head rush and soothes my anxiety.
What's that?
It's just my vape.
Wow. From what we've just watched here, it seems that Jason uses vaping to cope with stress. This is what we call an unhealthy coping strategy. Over time, vaping can cause more stress. Research shows that nicotine is dangerous for developing brains, including making the brain more susceptible to addiction. It has also been shown that vaping can worsen your mental health and affect a person's ability to concentrate, learn, and make decisions. Let's see where Olivia goes.
Do you want a hit of my vape?
No, I'm good, but thanks.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Come on, it's not gonna hurt you. Just try it.
Actually, yeah, sure.
Many youth begin to vape due to peer pressure. Alyssa's idea that vaping is harmless is not true. Vaping is harmful to our bodies and brains. It has been shown that vaping can affect a person's ability to concentrate, learn, and make decisions. Since vaping is fairly new, only being created in 2003, these are only the short-term effects that we're seeing, and the long-term effects are still being studied. So, despite what Alyssa tells Olivia, vaping is not harmless. Let's see what happens next.
Come on! Where is it? I had it like 5 seconds ago! Ugh! Hello?
Olivia, where are you? Our game starts any minute and we need you here.
Oh my gosh! I totally forgot about the soccer game. I'll be right there. I've been so busy trying to look for my vape, I totally forgot about the soccer game, and now I'm letting my whole team down. How could I let it get this bad?
Since beginning to vape, Olivia has become more stressed and is dealing with increased anxiety. It's beginning to occupy her brain more than the things she loves, like soccer. Studies show that 60% of nicotine vapors reported symptoms of anxiety. It's also been shown that quitting nicotine has been associated with lower levels of anxiety, depression, and stress. Although Olivia started vaping as a quick fix for stress, the longer she continues to do it, the less control and heightened anxiety she feels.
Olivia, why were you late to the game?
I'm sorry, Coach. If I'm being honest, in the past month, I've started vaping to deal with my stress. I think I'm becoming addicted, and it's causing a lot of problems in my life. I feel more anxious than I ever did before, and I'm not sure how to stop. I know quitting won't be easy, but I want to feel in control of my life again.
I'm glad you came to me. I've noticed changes in your behavior, and I'm worried about you. There's support available so you can stop vaping and help manage stress in healthier ways.
Thanks, Coach.
Olivia took an important step towards stopping vaping by talking to someone in her life she trusts about her addiction. Stopping vaping can be difficult and often require support from healthcare providers who can help you through the process. If you need help quitting vaping, reach out to an adult you trust or speak to your healthcare provider. For more information, visit www.lungnsPEI.ca.